Hey, everybody.
The fullback with the first and goal. Kuhn gets the ball. Pyle trying to make his way in for the touchdown. What a great second effort.
Y'all don't really want it like that. Here comes the here comes the here comes the y'all don't really want it like that. I said so. I keep big bills up in my heart on the dirty like blood. So ain't got no twist in my head, but I'm still dreadful.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Fantasy Fullback Dive, brought to you by the good people at the Roto Street Journal. We were paving your way to fantasy glory and fantasy excellence and all that. So, I mean, maybe we still are in the playoffs. Hopefully you're hoisting that trophy or whatever. But anyway, it's not the off season yet. We got the playoffs coming up. We still got some pretty good fantasy and actual football content we're going to throw at you today. I'm your host, Nat the Truth Jones. With me, as always, the Wolf of Roto Street himself. I don't know about you. I'm very excited for some playoffs.
Oh, I'm buzzed up, man. I cannot wait for this playoffs. It is, as we'll talk about tonight in our playoff extravaganza, our fantasy preview of the playoffs, it's wide open. I don't think there's a single team that's like, damn, that team is a lock, as we've seen in the past. So I cannot wait to get this action. The more I've written, and you can check out all this stuff on rotostreetjournal.com, like team rankings and player rankings. This is always one of the busiest weeks of the year for me because it's like 5 to 6 huge pieces of content. But I love it. Like you're grading out the wild card weekend, but also the entire playoffs. It's so much fun. And the more I've written about it, the more I've just been like, this is going to be maybe the wildest playoffs, these 2022 playoffs that we've ever seen. So I cannot wait, Nat. I am so stoked for the action as early as Saturday, too. My playoffs on Patriots Saturday night. Oh, man. Long weekend, too. What could be better than this? I am so pumped. How about you?
Totally fired up for it. You asked me to do my fantasy bracket, rank the teams and so on. And I have basically done that. And it was surprising to me how few games I felt good about. I don't mean good as far as how much I wanted to watch them. I wanted to watch all of them, but it was like, maybe there were like 2 games where I was like confidently picking. And other than that, I was like, probably. I mean, I watch a lot of football. Like, I feel like I'm as educated and knowledgeable as just about anybody, and I did not feel good about any of my picks. So,
exactly.
Which means they're going to be good games.
Exactly. And that's what made ranking this year so hard. So what we're going to dive to on the show is first, how you can play fantasy football in the playoffs. I'll do that quick, no more than 5 minutes or so, because the beef of the show and what's probably going to be more entertaining for you guys, and we'd love you guys to weigh in, whether you're live with us here, whether you're catching the replay and in the comments. We're going to do a power rankings of the teams, mostly from a fantasy football perspective. But as you'll learn, the way fantasy playoffs work is you get points for how long your team ranks. So it's also kind of real life rankings as well. It's much more important in the fantasy playoffs type of leagues to be more in line with how the real life pans out, because as soon as they're done, they're not racking up points for you anymore. You need to know who's facing who as you make rankings. We'll talk about that, all that strategy, and then we'll take a look. I'll have the truth critique my rankings after we go through all the teams. We make our power rankings of the team from a fantasy lens. We'll look at my actual 2022 playoff rankings by position and have the truth smash me for anyone he disagrees with. And of course, praise me for all the great picks I make here. So we can't wait to dive into that, folks. Let us know again in the comments. It's good to see some of you guys. Toss that thumbs up button if you don't mind to help us get out to more people. Hit us up in the comments. Let us know you're here, and let us know if you're playing fantasy and how you're doing it in the playoffs. We'll start diving into some ways to do that we love.
All right, cool. All right, we want to get right into our, the options, where you can play, how you can play, all the explanations that you're talking about. I mean, break them down. Throw them at us.
Yeah, so there is just the standard, if you can find 6 people or so, that's the ideal league in my opinion. Just a regular fantasy league. It's on MyFantasy, MFL Fantasy. A lot of you guys play for Dynasty. They have some unique settings. It's not the best format in my opinion in terms of like user friendliness, but it's okay. And you can set up a league very easily. And then once you have it, they live score, they do it all. Typically, it's a total points league. So you draft your roster. We recommend 2 QBs, 2 running backs, 3 receivers or tight ends, kind of just like a flex spot. So in that sense that you can have it as a wide receiver or tight end, not requiring a tight end is how we like to do that. And then also just a flex in general for running back, wide receiver, tight ends, 1 kicker, 1 defense. You set a roster and you just collect total points. So as long as your players are in, you get points from them. And then the most cumulative points, it's not like a one-on-one opponent situation. Most total points at the end of the season wins. So My Fantasy League is, again, a great site to that. We just full disclosure, we do not have any affiliates right now with any of the things I promote. They're just things I like to look forward to.
No, but if anybody wants to become affiliated with us, you know where to find us.
Of course, we send the millions of viewers over to you. Please keep us in mind for that. So that's one way, is just to set up a league with your league mates on MyFantasyLeague and just do a regular league. There's also some great formats that you can set up with friends, like one and done leagues is what they're kind of called, where you either once you use a player, you can't use them again. So that's also, that's a great format. Let's say Najee Harris this weekend, Cooper Kupp, if you think the Rams are going to lose, you get those players out of the way. Maybe Damien Harris at a running back spot that could have some big one game upside, but might get knocked out in round one. And then you go from there, and you can use players from teams that are still alive. But once you use a player, you can no longer use them. That's a great format. Similarly, there's like one player per team leagues where you have to pick, you fill out a roster again, 2 QBs, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, 4 flexes, a defense, and a kicker to reflect 14 teams. You have to pick one player and fill a spot for each team. So like usually you'll burn your defense as like the Eagles or some crap team, but you want your quarterback to be the quarterback you think goes furthest. I have a league with some, about 1,000 people that are kind of local that we do this with, and it's awesome. The prize pool was $10,000 last year, which was incredible. And I ended up coming in like, I think 200th out of 10,000, I believe it was, made like a nice smooth 1K because of it, but it was awesome. And I had Tom Brady as my quarterback, predicting the Bucs go all the way, end up lining my pockets pretty nice. But that's a good format, again, where you can only take one player per team at one position. You fill out a full roster. So that's a great way. And the last way I would recommend is high stakes playoff leagues. There's best ball tournaments on UnderDog, who we're talking to right now, potentially setting up a partnership. Love them. They have one called the Gauntlet. And this is probably the lowest cost, highest stake you can get in. There's $25 to play with a $200,000 grand prize, $1 million prize pool here. So obviously you're competing with a very large field, but it's awesome. You have to draft a, 1 QB, 1 running back, 2 wide receivers or tight ends, a flex, and then 5 bench spots. So, only 10 rounds, 5 starting rosters, and you go through round by round, wild card round. If you have the most points, you move on to the next segment. And at the end of it, you're the last person standing, $200,000. There's other sites called NFFC. They do a $125,000 prize for a $200 buy-in, things like that. So I'm getting involved in as many of these high stakes things as I can, just because again, we already talked about how this playoff is going to be the most exciting, but this is just another way to ratchet up. Of course, you have DFS and weekly stuff. I'll be doing a wild card preview tomorrow where I just look at some of the news, look at my favorite DFS plays and all that 1 week stuff. Tonight's show, of course, though, is like a full seasonal type of playoff format. So those are a few ways. I know I'm kind of talking quickly just to throw them all out there at you, but if you want more in-depth ways of how you set it up, how you look at it, go to rotostreetjournal.com. We have the article right there pinned at the top. It's linked into all our player rankings, all that good stuff. It'll tell you how you set up these leagues, where you go to do it. There's just so many options. And again, as exciting as it's going to be without adding any incentives to it, to throw a $200,000 prize potentially on top of the action, what's better than that? Only $25 to enter. Again, UnderDog, a great site to do something like that, to up your stakes. So check out, again, rotostreetjournal.com, where and how to play. We have a whole article with links to it, with instructions on how to do it. Definitely highly recommend that.
All right. You want to rank some teams? You want to talk some fantasy playoff bets? What do you want to do? How do you want to work this thing? Because I got a lot on my mind.
Yeah, I think we go team by teams. Because again, as we mentioned, the way you'll win in playoff fantasy is pretty much figuring out what teams go to the Super Bowl. Ideally, that's the best case. Maybe you get 3 games played out of them and then they still rack up some good points. But games played is as important, if not more important, than the actual player talent, right? So again, Najee Harris would, in any seasonal format, be a top 5 running back. Here, he's probably outside my top 10. He is outside my top 10 because I don't think they're going to play more than 1 game and you just get 1 game of points versus 3 to 4 games from Darrell Williams. Not the talent of Najee, but those many more games played will have him vaunted up. So yes, I think team rankings, absolutely the next transition. So let's do some power rankings. This again is from a fantasy lens. So the way these will grade out, and we'll just put the bottom team there.
Hey, so that's my number 14.
Fantasy power rankings. And the way I kind of created these, and we'll see how much we're in lockstep here, is first you factor in games played, as we just said. The
Right.
more games played, the more they can rack up points. Makes sense. Pretty obvious. But then you also want to factor in offensive potency here. How much
Sure.
damage are they going to do
Right.
in
For
those games
instance,
played
Ben
as well?
Roethlisberger throws for, around 120 yards in a game for the
Right.
most part. And so there's not a lot of potency, hence the number 14 ranking. I'm with you. I also have the Steelers 14.
Yep, exactly. I think they have no shot at beating the Chiefs. So you're getting one game. And as you said, it's going to be a very lackluster effort from most of the products in that game from the Steelers' point of view. Yes, Deante Johnson, 12 plus targets in over half his games this year. He'll probably have a good game. He'll get you one game worth of solid points. Najee probably will get you one game of solid points.
Maybe he will. I mean, for instance, on Prize Picks, who we are affiliated with and who we love, I was looking over some of their best bets, and I really had in my mind, I was like, Deante Johnson's going to have a decent game. He's the one guy I could bet. They had over under 6.5 receptions, and then I was just like, you know what? I'm not confident he's going to have 7 catches in this game. No. So
Yeah.
I don't know. He might, but I mean, have you seen some of these first half, especially that Roethlisberger is playing? I mean, I don't have any faith in anybody to do anything.
No, I really don't either. I actually kind of like that prize pick though a lot. 6.5 receptions.
I thought about it.
I'd like that one a lot. I don't even know what his yardage was, but that's the one I would avoid because he might have like 10 catches for 30 yards. Remember, just a couple of weeks ago, he had 9 catches and he didn't rack up it was 3.4 yards per reception. It was awful.
I could just see Roethlisberger having like 11 completions or something like that. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, who you got 13? I'll tell you some more of my bets as we go, but go ahead.
Yeah, we don't need to waste too much time on them. They're 2-4 against playoff teams. They did somehow beat the Titans and the Bills, which is kind of insane, but they're not upsetting the Chiefs here.
Wasn't the Bills game week 1 though?
Yes, it was. And
who the fuck cares? The Saints beat the Packers by 35 in week 1.
Which was insane too.
Right.
But yeah, 20 points per game was 21st in the NFL, the fewest of any playoff team. Just to reemphasize why you don't want to load up on too many, if any, Steelers in your playoff games. Number 13.
That's also my number 13. All right.
The 2 7 seeds. Let's get them out of the way.
Okay.
The Eagles, though.
Not much to say.
Yeah, similar to the Steelers here. Games played, probably only one. I don't think there's any chance they beat the Bucs here. The only thing that has me like just one slight hesitation here is they're going to be playing a monsoon this Sunday, it sounds like, and that does favor a run-heavy team like the Eagles. I still think the Bucs can run it down their throats, even if that's the type of game they get into. I still think the Eagles suck. They are 0-6 against playoff teams this year. So that's all you really need to know about how they handle good competition. They don't. They lose. They had 26.1 points per game, which was 12th in the NFL. So that's why their potency score a little high in the sense that you might get some decent damage. You might get like 25 points out of Jalen Hurts this weekend, and that's not bad. But ultimately, only one game is how I'm expecting this. The running game you can't really trust. I don't really like any of the weapons on this team. So I think they're just as a 98% chance of losing this game and really giving you very minimal fantasy production. So I'm kind of avoiding them. You agree with that, Matt?
I completely agree with that. And I want to just say, I gave you, I know you're going 12, the Patriots. And I had originally said, oh, that's too low. But I'm looking at my sheet and I also have the Patriots 12. So, it's like, I don't think they're going to win a game. I mean, they could. They've proven they could beat Buffalo. They seem like they're just completely going in the wrong direction. They peaked like a month and a half ago or something like that. They're going in the wrong direction. And on top of that, it's not like even when they're clicking, they're one of these like, oh my God, they threw for 500 yards. And, so who are you exactly banking on? Mac Jones, his over under on yards on Prize Picks is like 189 or 185. I'm serious. Like
abysmal.
Right. So, I mean, even if you thought they were going to win somehow, or even, it's not even like there's a very high ceiling as far as the numbers they're going to put up in a game. Yeah, even if they made a good showing of themselves. So to me, they're the clear number 12.
Yeah, exactly. I think they have a better shot at winning a game than the two teams below them. They have gone into Buffalo and won already this year.
Well,
Granted,
the Steelers beat Buffalo too, as you just said.
It was the most absurd weather conditions, the wind, all that. But guess what? It's supposed to be negative 10 degrees in Buffalo. I actually been discussing maybe going to the game with a couple buddies.
Are you kidding me?
But no,
I was just going to say you could not pay me enough to go to Buffalo in negative 10
not
degrees.
happening.
No way.
So yes, of course the Pats, maybe they pull the upset, but as you said, does it really matter when we look at that again? That second factor of offensive potency, Mac Jones has really only had, I think 4 games in the top 12 QBs all year. And I just don't know that they advance. They've squandered 3 of their last 4 games. They're 2-3 against playoff opponents. 1 win was against the Bills. 1 win was against the Titans. They smashed them, but again, without Derrick Henry, kind of has an asterisk on it. They did have that crazy run where they did win, 7, 8 in a row, beating a few decent opponents in that stretch. So, I mean, it is Belichick.
You know what? Who did they beat, though? They beat the Chargers.
They beat the Titans. They beat the Chargers. And then they beat the Bills, too. So, I mean, a couple decent opponents in that.
That's a little better than I was giving them credit for.
It wasn't
I feel
just
like they haven't. It was weird, though. The Bills game was weird. Anyway.
I agree. It wasn't like the most convincing. And again, they're coming out of here in a tailspin right now. 3 of the 4 last games they've dropped. So it's not looking great for the Pats, my beloved Pats. And as you said, even if they do win a game or 2, how much fantasy juice are you getting out of Jacoby Myers, out of Kendrick Bourne? I think the one weapon that's kind of intriguing if they win a few games is Damien Harris. If they win games, it is going to be on the back of their run game, of their defense. And again, kind of, because I do think it's only 1 game you're going to get out of him. But if you get multiple games out of Harris, he's put up over 17 in 4 straight.
How many yards do you think Harris is going to rush for this week?
I think he's going to have a good game. I honestly do. I think he'll probably have 90 to 100 yards and a score. That's
over under Prize Picks. I think 54.5 is the number.
I like that over a lot in a cold weather game. As long as he stays healthy, I like that. But again, our 12 seed, because not a great chance of advancing, and even if they do, not that much offensive potency. Number 11.
All right. That's my number 11 team, Raiders.
Yeah.
I think they're garbage, but they have a couple pieces that are kind of interesting as far as fantasy goes. Renfro, interesting. Actually, Renfro is one of my Prize Pick picks. I like Renfro over 53.5 receiving yards. And Waller, I think, has the same number, actually. I'm a little more iffy on Waller, but he is a legit fantasy weapon. Carr's a good quarterback. He might be a better quarterback than fantasy quarterback, but I agree with that. He's good. He's gotten it done a few times when it would have been easy to not get it done. And Josh Jacobs, although I've shit on him for a couple years now, I mean, he kind of produces, right?
Exactly. I mean, he's been a touch monster. I think he ranks top 5 in expected fantasy points over the second half of the season. Been getting fed and even getting receiving work, which he was previously denied, and starting to really put up some good numbers because of it. And that's why I have the Raiders a bit higher, even though I expect them to be one and done. I do think the Bengals win. This would be one of the ones I wouldn't be shocked by if the Raiders pull this upset.
This is why if this was like an NCAA, you pick 64 bracket, I'm picking the Raiders to lose to the Bengals in the first game, but I don't feel great about it.
Me neither. I mean, 1991, the last time the Bengals won a game 30 years ago. Fucking nuts, to be honest. But as you say, if they pull off the upset, I mean, they are 3-3 against playoff teams. They beat the Cowboys, they've beaten the Steelers, and the Eagles. So they didn't beat too many good playoff teams, but the Cowboys win is legit. They got smoked by the Chiefs twice. They did get crushed by this Bengals team they're facing this week. So that doesn't bode well for them. I think it was 32 to 10. They lost to the Bengals, if I'm not mistaken. They got smacked either way. So I don't love the Raiders' chances of going on the road and upsetting this team, but it wouldn't shock me. And if you got multiple games of Hunter Renfrow, as you mentioned, I think he's going to have a solid. He's been one of the top receivers of the second half of the year. Was a top 12 receiver, was a wide receiver 1 in fantasy. You get multiple games of him. Josh Jacobs has 15 or more in 4 straight. I think they have some decent firepower. And if you somehow do get multiple games of Renfrow, of Jacobs, and maybe of Waller, who saw 9 targets last week, the second most he's seen all year since week 1, the most targets he's seen since week 1 when he had 19 targets, still a distant memory there. I do think the Raiders bring a good amount of firepower, pretty concentrated firepower, but good firepower, and have a shot at multiple weeks, which jumps them ahead of the Patriots, ahead of the Eagles, and ahead of the Steelers for me.
All right. I'd be interested to see when we start differentiating. We have the same number 10 as well.
Which seems insane, right? The number 1 seed in the AFC.
Well, but that number 1 seed is a little bit of what's working against them, as we've talked about, which is like, there's going to be 12 other teams that are going to have played actual games before they even get on the field. So that's a strike against them in the first place. Now, you would think being the number 1 seed would be a big thumbs up in their favor on top of that. But for me, it's not, because I don't think they're good.
No,
I mean, I don't know. Watch Derrick Henry come and run for 220 yards and shove it down my throat. But I struggled between 9 and 10 for these guys, and I ultimately landed on 10.
Yeah, and we're again talking about pure fantasy purposes. I would, as you're saying, not be surprised at all to see a one and done exit for these Titans as a
It's
one.
on my bracket. That's what I got.
That's what I have too. Granted, they have beaten the Chiefs, Bills, Rams, and Niners. I mean, 4 really strong playoff teams, and that was without Henry for a lot of those games. Like, Variable does coach his team up well. It is, yeah. Could they make their way into the Super Bowl? Absolutely. They're a 1 seed. They're home throughout the playoffs. Should they win those games? Yes. And I do think, I know the bye could be a negative, but I think giving Henry just another week to get himself fully healthy, rearing to go, like they could absolutely go on a run, and it would certainly be on the back of Henry, who has 937 rushing yards in the playoffs, or had 937 yards rather this year. He's ninth in the league.
That's so
in rushing.
nuts. Remember, I mean, I don't know. My whole childhood being like 1,000-yard rusher was like a huge deal. Didn't he do that in like 5 games or 6 games?
Exactly. I mean, it's crazy. And he has 670 yards. So it was 670 yards and 3 touchdowns in 6 playoff games. So, I mean, pretty quality performances here. As a team, though, behind him, yes, AJ Brown's intriguing as a fantasy product, but that's really it. So
that's it.
24.6, 15th in fantasy points per total points per game this year. 4-3 against playoff teams. And again, I think they're a one and done waiting to happen. So that's why they're so low, even as Henry being my number 1 running back. Because if they go on a run, the guy's been going for 150 to 200, multiple touchdowns. He could anchor playoff winning squads. So he is my number 1 running back in that sense. But I don't think they're real. I think they're frauds. And ultimately, as much as I love Rabel and as much as I love how this team has just always been pesty and won, I think it comes, the pumpkin comes to fruition or whatever they say with Cinderella, and they don't make a good run here.
I agree. And yet, it is so clustered, and I would perceive it wide open in the AFC. Even again, I agree with this pick. I have the exact same thing that you have. If Henry comes out smoking and all of a sudden we turn around and they're in the AFC Championship game, how shocked would I be? Not super shocked. Right. So I know I'm hedging hugely here, but yeah, there's a very wide range for the Titans and really for a lot of these teams, in my head. Like I'm not picturing the Steelers in the AFC Championship game, but it's like, there's 4 or 5 teams in the AFC where I could see it as a shot. And this is one of them. I just think they're at the bottom of the pile.
I agree as well. And just as, again, we're emphasizing the fact that there's only really 2 viable products on this for fantasy-wise anyways. Even if they go on a deep run, it's just Henry. It's just A.J. Brown. There's nobody else. You're not going to Julio. You're not going after
You're not going all in on Fursker.
Like, exactly. And on that note, too, again, we're ranking these teams because team stacking is really how you win in playoffs. If you get that, God forbid, the NFC team right and the AFC team right, and you have loaded up on players from both of them, you're going to win your playoff league. That's how it goes.
Probably,
typically will only have like players from a couple rosters. And if you're going to set yourself up for success, certainly in these large field best ball tournaments. So that's why these team rankings are so crucial. And that's why these next few, it's like, so Arizona Cardinals, let's start with them.
I have them pick. They're number 9 for me, right? This is pretty impressive.
It is. Yeah. We're in lockstep here, which I'm shocked by. Ultimately, them versus the Rams this weekend. I love that matchup. It's going to be very fun. 2 high-powered offenses. Whoever wins, if they go on a run, will certainly be beating this 9. And I have the Rams, spoiler, at number 8 right above them. We'll talk about both teams. Whoever wins this one could go on an epic run. I actually love we'll talk about a couple other matchups this weekend. It's like, damn, these 2 teams are matched up. I really would see either one of them going on deep runs had they not been facing each other. That being said, Cardinals 5-2, 71%. That was actually the 3rd highest winning percentage of all playoff teams, 5-2 against playoff opponents, beating the Titans, the Rams, the 49ers twice, and the Cowboys. So a pretty impressive resume in that sense. They did lose to the Packers and Rams in their second matchup with the Rams, averaging 26.4 points per game, the 11th in the NFL there. So they have a good offense.
Aren't they like 2-5 in their last 7 or something, though? I mean,
yeah, exactly. They've lost 4 of their last 5. They started 7-0 and have definitely since collapsed. We've seen Cliff Kingsbury collapse late season before, Kyler Murray, the same thing. And we're seeing it happen right now. Their only win in the last 5 games was against the Cowboys. So a solid opponent, decent win there. But still, they are certainly crumbling on the wrong time. The one thing that is interesting about them that might be working in their favor here is that they're 8-1 on the road. I didn't realize that until I dug into the research here. So they are going to be on the road this entire playoff stretch, and that is where they've been better. But still, it's just kind of crazy that they went from scoring 31 plus in 7 of their first 9 games to being 23, 12, 16, 22, and then 30 points to close of the year. Nice high note. But this offense is not nearly the explosive juggernaut that we were seeing at the beginning of the year. So even if they did go on a run, yes, you got Connor, Christian Kirk, pretty intriguing. Zach Ertz, solid if you have a tight end position need. But ultimately, I think they're probably going to lose to the Rams, even though the Rams are worse against playoff teams, even though they beat the Rams before. Kingsbury is 1-5 against Sean McVay. And I don't think that's going to flip and help him get to 2-5 this weekend.
But these also, the 9 and 10 teams, the Arizona, Tennessee, the teams that we have ranked there, these are the teams all year that were lingering around that number 1 spot. And you and I will say pretty consistently all year, we're both like, we don't believe in these teams. And so now we're putting our money where our mouth is. We still don't believe them.
Still don't. And so maybe we'll look like epic fools because we've repeatedly hammered that we don't like these teams, and then they make a huge run. But nope, we haven't believed in the Cardinals. We never believed in the Titans, and we still don't.
That's right.
Number 8 here.
All right, this is where we differ for the first time.
Right.
I don't have the Rams number 8.
Where would you have them in your power rankings?
I have the Rams. I'm torn between 5th and 6th, actually, for the Rams. I have the Niners at number 8, actually.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Rams-Cardinals game could go either way. I'm picking the Rams to win it, and I think the Rams have a couple big weapons. I mean, Kupp is obviously the main weapon I'm looking at right there, where there's a lot of upside. So I'm not gonna. If I'm picking them to beat the Cardinals, I'm not putting them 1 spot above the Cardinals. I'm giving them a little tiny bit of a cushion on my overall team pecking order because I could see the Rams losing to anybody. I could also see them beating just about anybody. So
absolutely.
If they get by the Cardinals, which I think they will, I'm going to have them higher than 8th on my list.
Yeah, I could see that. Absolutely. If you get multiple games, I just think that game is such a coin flip, which is why I don't want to go all in on either team. But again, Cooper Kupp, for example, probably the first player you should take in fantasy playoff drafts because he is just such a god out there. If you got 3, even maybe 4 games out of him, you'll win your league on just the back of him. So yes, the Rams do deserve some consideration. This is why I'm nervous. They're 2-5 against playoff teams.
Sure.
This year. That is one of the lowest percentages beyond only the 0.000% wins of the Eagles.
Yeah.
The Rams are right there at the bottom of the list. They have beaten the Bucs and the Cardinals, but they also lost to the Cardinals, the Titans, the 49ers, the Packers. 49ers twice, actually. I think they are, 0-6?
They can't beat the 49ers. Luckily for them, they're on the other side of the bracket from the Niners because they won't beat the Niners. And look, Matthew Stafford has not looked good for a month.
And that's where I'm thinking is he might have a choke job here, throw multiple picks to a pretty opportunistic Cardinals defense, give the ball to Murray, and maybe Murray just dazzles and has a playoff game of his life.
But they did. I feel like the last time these two teams played, the Rams won, and I feel like they won decisively.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that the Rams, although I don't love everything I see from them, the Cardinals more than any other team in the playoffs just seem like they're going in the wrong direction to me.
Yeah, I agree. They certainly have been entering again, lost 4 of the last 5, not looking good. Should the Rams move? I mean, they're 7th in the NFL with 27.1 points per game. Stafford, solid. Obviously, Cooper Kupp, the god. And then you got Odell Beckham, who, decent acquisition with scoring and whatnot. All those guys are very viable. Van Jefferson, even a viable person to target in your fantasy.
Higbee's even looked okay lately, believe it or not.
And what I want to emphasize, he has actually 2 touchdowns last week. What I do want to emphasize too with these rankings, I might have the Cardinals 9, the Rams 8. If I start my draft with Cooper Kupp, I don't care that I have another team higher. I'm gonna have to start loading up on my Rams because again, team stacking is team stacking, and you got to just suddenly bet I'm going all in on the Rams. I have so many of my teams. I don't know why this keeps happening for me when I draft on Underdog. I get a lot of Bills, and then I get a ton of Cardinals as my later stacks, and I don't think the Cardinals are going to the Super Bowl. But if I somehow get a Bills,
you don't even think they're going to win a game.
No, I don't. But once that draft dictates it, I get Kyler Murray round 5, and then Christian Kirk's still there, and then Zach Ertz is there. I got to just kind of go all in on the team. And that's how this kind of works. So again, yes, I might have them at 8, but you almost have to just, turn off your rankings and just say, okay, I don't care that I have the Rams low. If they're facing the Cardinals round 1, now I cross off all Cardinals. I don't touch them. And I go all in on the Rams. So just kind of keep emphasizing that strategy of stacking teams. They are a very intriguing team to stack. should they go on a run? We've seen McVay go on playoff runs before. If they make the Super Bowl, again, that's kind of how any of these teams that we now talk about, like, could they go? I have them all in this tier. Cardinals even being in this tier. They could go on 3+ game runs. And if they do, you're likely winning your league. That's kind of all the teams we're talking about here. And I think this team, even though they're a 6 seed, is right in that realm. The 49ers.
I had the Niners 8, so obviously we're very close there. My number 7 team was actually the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Cowboys.
Now we're getting into it.
I have a pretty big, I have a good feeling about these Cowboys. And that's the only reason I have these Niners low. Like, if they were facing the Rams in this first week, I'd have them at like team 4. Because we talk about, again, potential for games played and offensive potency. What's more potent than this 49ers attack in terms of a fantasy perspective? You got Deebo Samuel, the wide receiver 3 in fantasy. I tweeted this out. People love Deebo, and I love that people.
I love Deebo.
How can you not love Deebo?
How many yards do you think Deebo is going to rush for this week? Because I'm going to tell you.
What's the prize picks line? Yeah,
well, I want to know. I want to know what you think, because I this was one of the bets that I wrote down that I was like, this is a good bet.
I mean, he could rip off a 25-yarder on just 1 carry. So you give him 5 to 7 carries. I'd give him 45 yards, at least 50 yards.
26.5 is the over-under for rushing.
He could do that on 1 carry.
Yeah, well, that was one of the prize picks I like. By the way, Omar F. just shot us $25. Wolf and Truth, just want to say thanks for all the help this year. You guys crush it. Helped me win a long-time league and a dynasty league that I co-manage. Couldn't have done it without you guys. That's super nice. Was not expecting to get any cash thrown our way on this particular show, but man, we appreciate it. I'm so glad that you won. Makes us feel good. When I don't win, and I didn't this year, it really genuinely does make me feel good when we helped other people win. I'm not just
That's really all you can hang your hat on. Me too. I didn't end up taking down a single big league of mine. I took down 1 league that didn't really matter. So yeah, no, I get you. But yeah, Deebo Samuel, crazy stat on him that I tweeted out that people love this week. He was top 12 in 50% of games. He was top 24 in 75% of games. So a wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2,
a starter
every time he was out there. And he never once went below 10 points. Insane. It's just a fucking legendary season from him.
The only other guy I'll bet you could say that about is Kupp. I don't think Kupp ever went under 10 either.
No.
But I mean, he's the only guy.
Yep, I agree. It's true. George Kittle also, yeah, he's a little inconsistent. He's a little up and down, but I mean, 30+ fantasy point weekly upside. We know Eli Mitchell. He finished 8th in rushing yards, even though he missed 6 games. That's fucking nuts. That's nuts.
So that's a commentary on 2 things. First of all, he's great. I mean, he's an excellent runner. I love the guy. But that's also a commentary on how few guys played a full season as running backs.
Yes, that's also true.
I mean, that's just a fact. You know, we see it top on down. But yeah, I mean, putting together a 10-game season and being a really good running back, that can make you a top 10 guy, right?
And also a commentary, yes, 100%. And also, how good is that 49ers running scheme? Like we talk about it every time, but that zone scheme is just a joy to watch. So you got some great potency. This team could definitely, they're capable of those uppercuts. When you got Kyle Shanahan, when you got a solid defense, they could absolutely go for a big one. 25.1 points per game was 13th in the NFL. So not the highest powered attack compared to those, but they're 4-4 against playoff teams, 500. Big wins, 2 wins against the Rams, Bengals in overtime, Eagles, whatever. You kind of toss that one out. It's like, whatever. Packers, Cardinals twice, and Titans they lost to. So they did lose to a few teams, but they did win, again, 4 of their matchups. So I think they're the kind of the trendy pick as like the upset pick this weekend. I don't think anyone will be surprised if that happens. And if it does, you're getting multiple games of Deebo Samuel. Like, he's going to be a monster. So big potency, big potential run. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they're one and done or if they go to the Super Bowl. Like, this team has such a high variance of outcomes.
This is one of the first round games I genuinely had a hard time picking.
I cannot wait.
Niners and the Cowboys. I'm looking forward to watching the game.
I think that's the game of the weekend.
Yeah. I actually initially wrote 49ers down on my bracket and then was just like, nah, don't be a dumbass.
You're not being a dumbass. Like, that's that.
But anyway, I changed it, but I'm just going to go on record as saying I do like the 49ers a lot. I could totally see them winning this game. Before we move on to the next one, how many receiving yards do you like George Kittle for?
That's a tricky one because he's had 3 straight brutal games. But playoffs is when, like, you just see these players that are just ballers. And there's no doubt that George Kittle is the definition of a baller. I mean, it's either going to be like 15 yards or it's going to be 150. There's no real, like, in between. There's no way he's just going to get, like, 45 yards, right? So,
well, that's right. That's right around where the line is, 47.5.
Yeah, I would
smash the over. I really would.
Yeah. I mean, again, he could get that on 2 catches because there's nobody that's more fun to watch after the catch other than maybe Deebo Samuel, his teammate. They're both just such treats. That's why I just love this team. They're so fun to watch.
I love them too.
I cannot wait for that game. And I would hammer 45. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Like if he goes under, he's going to go under hard. But if he goes over, he's going to probably put 100 on top of that line.
I think he's going to go way over. I really do.
I have them high. Even though I think they're going to lose, I have them this high because I think there is also a good chance they win. And if they win and they go on a run, they're going to win you your league. So love them. And number 6, I really love too. Very intriguing matchup.
I actually have the Bengals at 5. But we're obviously right in the same ballpark. I have the Bengals over the Raiders in the first round. We talked about that. I don't love the pick, but I am picking them. And I think there's all sorts of upside with this team. One of the prize picks bets that I really like this week, Joe Burrow over 260.5 passing yards. I'm smashing the over on that as well. Don't you think?
Yeah, I was just going to say the dude has thrown for 971 yards in his last 2 games.
Well, this is kind of what I'm driving at here. Like he can put up 260 and a half.
Exactly.
And I mean, the Raiders, they've had good moments, but they've been pounded by the Bengals already this year, and they're not known for their lockdown defense or anything like that. I love the weapons Burrow's throwing to. I like Mixon to have a good game too, actually. I also like Mixon over 0.5 rushing touchdowns. I would take Mixon to get into the end zone. I feel like I'm exciting you with some of these bets. I feel like you're going to maybe throw some of these things down. I like Burrow for 3 touchdowns. He's throwing to 2 amazingly good receivers, and then Tyler Boyd's fine too. But I like the Bengals here, and I like the Bengals maybe going more than 1 game. So that's why I like them.
Absolutely. And just for the people at home, these prize the bets that Nat keeps laying out to you is from Prize Picks, a prop betting app. Our favorite, one of our favorite places to play. I hit a nice 4 out of my 5 last weekend. Got a nice 4x the money, which was great. Still haven't got all 5 right for the 10x, but it's great. Again, you place 5 bets. If you get all 5 right, you 10x your money. 4 right, you 3x your money. You even get 3 right, and you get some of your money back, which is nice. CJ again is up over $1,000 in the last 2 weeks. He's been just a master of this stuff. So check out Prize Picks. If you do, use code RSJ. They'll match up to $100 of your deposit. And if you deposit $20 or more, it supports the site. It kicks it back to us, which would be so greatly appreciated. But back.
I wanted to also mention, since we're talking about Prize Picks, I said I like Mixon to score at least 1 rushing touchdown. I forgot one more pick from the Niners that I did not mention, which is that I like Jimmy G to throw at least 1 pick. That is also that is also one of my picks.
Roethlisberger for a pick is almost always on there, and I always pick that. And
I didn't see it this week. I think it was just too easy. They're just look, we're trying to make some money here.
Exactly.
Anyway, go ahead. Talk about the Bengals.
Let's look at these Bengals. 4-2 against playoff teams, 66% win rate. That is tied with the Chiefs for the 4th highest. That's not bad at all. They've beaten those Chiefs. We all saw that game just a couple of weeks ago. What a blast that was. They were down by multiple scores in the first half. They come back against a Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes is the one that engineers those comebacks.
I blame Jordan Mahomes for this, by the way.
100%. Jordan Mahomes is the biggest loser of all time. I love the pleas to ban him from the NFL. Please do. Absolute tool. But regardless, this Bengals team is battle tested with some big wins. Chiefs, Steelers ×2, whatever. Raiders, they smashed 32-13, whatever it should be, but they are facing those Raiders team this week. So I love that they have that easy matchup in week 1. They should win. We did talk about at 11, could the Raiders shock the world and beat them? Sure, it could, but I don't think so. And as long as you get 2 games of these Bengals, maybe even 3. So let's say they win and the Bills
I really think they could see 3.
They could easily upset the Titans if that's what the matchup ends up being.
Spoiler alert, it's on my bracket. I'm just coming out with it right now.
Yep. I love that. And you get 3 games of this Bengals team, maybe even a 4th if they somehow make the Super Bowl. I know we're getting crazy here.
It's not impossible, though. I'm telling you.
Those Chiefs, it could absolutely happen. And as you talked, we were talking about Joe Burrow, 971 yards in his last 2 games, averaging over 28 fantasy points per game across the fantasy playoffs, 8 TDs in those final 2 games. If this team goes on a run, it's likely because Burrow's going nuts. what a great anchor to have on your team, because you mentioned so stackable as well. Jamar Chase, a monster. T. Higgins, a monster. Both have had 40-plus point outings in their last 2 games with Burrow as well. So that's what makes this team so sexy. That's why they're high up on our list for fantasy purposes, is because of how much you can stack them. You mentioned Joe Mixon as well. Probably the second or third back he should be in fantasy rankings, given he was the RB3 in fantasy behind only Taylor and Austin Eckler. And now in the playoffs, as we talked about Kittle, the stars come out to play. There's no more Samaje Perine taking over receiving work in the playoffs. You don't risk your season by putting in a shit bum. You rest your studs during the regular season to get them juiced up for the playoffs. So I think we're going to get 100% close to it for Mixon of the snaps, and he's going to eat. So I love these teams. And by the way, their 2 losses, one to the Packers, one to the 49ers, both went to overtime. So like they were right there. They were hanging on there. So yes, this team can make a deep run. It would be the first playoff win since 1991, as I said at the top of the
30
show.
years.
30 fucking years. You couldn't. I saw a great meme about it. It was.
I wonder if it's the same one I saw. Go ahead.
Was it about if the Bengals win, it'd be the first time you could ever text your friend? Yeah.
Yes. It was the first one I saw. It was like no one under the age of 30 has ever received the following text. And it was like, hey, did you see that Bengals win in the playoffs today? And it's just like, yeah, you're right. That's totally
text messaging didn't exist the last time they won.
Well, that's a good point, actually. Right. They never received a mail with a stamp on it. And,
yes, exactly.
A handwritten calligraphy letter.
Yeah. The more we talk about him, the more excited I get, and the more I'm like,
I'm behind him. I feel good. Like I said, I have him 5. So
I kind of wish I bumped him up, because again, I think the Titans lose, so now we get 3 games of the Bengals. I mean, the only reason I'm a little lower is I am nervous of this Raiders team, but not really. The more I think about it, so as we talk, I might adjust my rankings, which you can again find at RoseStreetJournal.com, where I break down every team. Yeah, there's nothing to not love about this offense, especially when you think you might get 3, maybe 4 games. They could be league winners. So yes, absolutely one of the best teams to stack.
All right. Number 5, you got the Cowboys. I said I had the Cowboys down at 7. I actually have the Rams at 5.
Yeah, so we're a little bit
that we talked about
flipped in that, because I raved about the 49ers. I do love this 49ers team. And
no, wait, hold on. I have the Rams at 6. I have the Bengals at 5. Never mind.
There you go. Yeah, so we all kind of have those same pockets. Again, all these teams are in that tier of could go on 3+ game runs and would likely win your league if they do. It's just a clusterfuck. That's why I love this year's playoffs, is because
it's awesome.
Nobody's a guarantee. I do have this is more of a gut feeling, so there's not a ton to like back this up. I just, for whatever reason,
I love
think the
those
Cowboys
picks.
team.
Those are my favorite picks when there's nothing to back it up.
I mean, you look at their record versus playoff teams: 3-4, 42% win rate. That's below 500. That's not great. The wins too came against the Patriots, and that went to overtime, and then the Eagles times 2. Neither one of those is very impressive of wins. They lost to the Bucs, Chiefs, Cardinals, and Raiders, which went to overtime as well. They lost in there. So, yeah, that's a little bit sketchy. But then I look at the fantasy potency. 31.2 points per game was first in the NFL. And then you look at their last 3, 43 points per game across their last 3, including 2 games with 50 or more points. Yes, it came against the Eagles. Yes, it came against the football team. Neither of those are good defenses.
No, they sure aren't. No.
But that's still a scorching way to enter these playoffs. Dak coming with a 5-touchdown game his last time out. And just that weird, this is part of what's, I think, feeding my gut on this one, and my ample gut. The last time the Bucs won the Super Bowl, they won the NBA Finals, Cowboys won the Super Bowl. Last time the Braves won the World Series, the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. We saw both of those teams win this year. I don't know why, but it's just one of those weird, history is always, the gods have already chosen who's going to win, and it's a weird history repeating itself. Maybe, just maybe, that plays here. Now, I hate Mike McCarthy. Obviously, that, is a huge fucking
we can agree that of the coaches remaining, at least this high on the list, that he's the worst coach of the group, right?
100%, okay. Right? Even Zach Taylor is probably a more appetizing coach, even though he's so inexperienced. Mike McCarthy has been to a Super Bowl and won it, so I guess he has a little experience, but he's a moron. I hate him. But Dak coming in with 30, 27.5, and 35 fantasy points across his last 3, red hot and scorching. I don't know. I just have a feeling Dak's going to go on some crazy run, and he's going to be the guy that's on NFL playoff fantasy winning rosters this year. I just think it's him. Maybe it's Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. It's kind of it doesn't feel as sexy as that. The more I talk about it, like the Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase.
No, Burrow's way sexier.
Way sexier. But I just have a feeling about this Cowboys team. They kind of remind me of like an AFC version of the Chiefs, where they've got a really good defense that has kept them in every game this year. So when the offense shows up, they can beat anybody. And that's kind of like the Chiefs to me. On the other side of it, lately Dak has been showing up because I think he's finally over that calf injury. He had that really bad stretch where we were like, I remember I ranked him at QB1 one week and he was just atrocious.
I don't see the Cowboys. I mean, it's not impossible. It's like we talked about with the Titans. There's a wide range of possibilities for the Cowboys. I think the Niners-Cowboys game is going to be basically a coin flip, and I'm grudgingly giving the Cowboys the edge in that game. I don't think they're going to win their next game.
Yeah, so, I think the more I think about that, it's like,
I mean,
even if they win, right? They're probably matching up with the Bucs at that point.
Yeah, no, they're going to lose to the Bucs. I think.
So,
I mean, I don't see this, guns blazing cowboy narrative that you do, but we'll see.
I mean, the more we've talked about it live, I honestly have a much better feeling about the Bengals.
Yeah, oh yeah. The Bengals are the team that we're going to come out of this podcast both feeling good about it.
I know. I'm going to do a draft tonight where I go hardcore after Bengals following this show. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was a gut feeling. That's why I have the Cowboys. I wanted to write the article with, how I'm feeling. But like I said, not a ton of statistical evidence. It's just one of those feelings. Like, I think this Cowboys team does come out of a huge, maybe an overtime game versus the 49ers and kind of rides that wave of momentum with Dak going off, with his weapons going off. So that's where I was coming from. But again, I feel better about the Bengals on the other side of things, probably going on that run than I sure do the Cowboys. So I might have to flip that 5 and 6 ranking for sure.
All right, who's your top 4? Who do you got? Bills
at 4. And this is another one that feels a little sketchy, given this is the most shocking of all the stats I kind of uncovered while doing these team rankings. The Bills are 2-4 against playoff teams this year. I mean, that is the worst, other than the Rams and the Eagles. They're the third worst in terms of playoff win percentage. They did beat the Chiefs, big win. Patriots, the team they're facing. They then lost to the Patriots, Steelers, crazy, Titans, and Bucs in overtime. 28.4 points per game, though, fourth. So how many games are they going to play? Offensive potency. Fantasy-wise, very few teams match what the Bills bring to the table. Josh Allen, QB1 last year, as he was the year before. Back-to-back repeats. I love anchoring my teams with him. Obviously, you can then stack it with Diggs. I keep finding myself in the 6 hole in these 16 drafts, and I almost always go Allen Diggs. And I just start loading up on Bills from there. Because once you have Allen and Diggs, you don't need me to sell you on either of those guys. But what you might need me to sell you on is Devin Singletary, which you wouldn't believe this, Nat. No running back for the last 4 weeks outscored Devin Singletary. Not Jonathan Taylor, nobody. Nobody in fantasy outscored Devin Singletary for the last 4 weeks.
What website did you get that from?
No, it's the truth. He's had 17, 19, 23, and 25 fantasy points across.
That is the most ridiculous stat I've ever heard in my life.
How insane
you should have gotten me to bet you something substantial on that.
Like where he ranked? Yeah.
Not just how many guys? I mean, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And if I didn't know you to be a fairly honest guy, I would assume that you were lying to me right now.
I know. It's fucking madness over these last 4. I actually should probably tweet that and see what reactions I get, because people will go fucking madness. 17, 19, 23, and 25. Pretty damn good stats here. He's been playing over 80% of the snaps. It's just kind of one of those things where we've always said, whenever the Bills get a running back of the future, this offense is so explosive. When they commit to one, it's going to blow up. But we never thought they had the guy on the actual roster because they wouldn't do it. I didn't
think that.
They finally did it. And Singletary's, for his credit, has been balling out. Like, he's looked good. He's gotten 10 red zone touches in the last 2 weeks. So he's getting goal line work. That was kind of always the rub, is Josh Allen would always take the touchdowns, but they're giving him cracks and he's performing. He's doing a really solid job. So he's right up there in my top 4 running backs in fantasy playoff leagues. So you got a top 4 running back. You got Diggs in my top 3 receivers. You got Allen as my QB2 behind only Pat Mahomes. This is a loaded offense. You can even go to Gabriel Davis, who has 4 touchdowns in his last 5 games, fresh off a 14-target day. He falls around 5 or 6. Love the value there. Cole Beasley's disappeared into abyss. Emmanuel Sanders doesn't exist. So there's some weaponry here that is really intriguing. I really like this Bills team. I do.
You don't like him as much as me, though. I actually have the Bills higher than you do. And you said you like Allen as your number 2 quarterback behind Mahomes. I'd put him 1 above Mahomes.
So you think do you think they take down Mahomes? You think they take down the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Wow. I love it. I can't wait to see your bracket. That's exciting.
I do.
I have beat them before in Kansas City too. So I mean,
I have the Bills. I have the Bills 2 on my power ranking list.
I love it. Number 3 for me, which I'm guessing might be your number 1. The more and more I hear about your bracket, that's the Green Bay Packers for me. 5-1 against playoff teams, 83%, the highest in the NFL right now. They beat the Rams, Cardinals, Bengals, Steelers, 49ers. No jokes there. They lost to the Chiefs in just a disgusting defensive battle, which was interesting to see. 26.5 points is 10th in the NFL, so not the biggest juggernaut on this list, but certainly a great bet to make the Super Bowl. Probably the favorite. If I look at Vegas odds, I think they are the favorite to win the Super Bowl right now at plus 380. They are the Vegas favorite to win it all. How many times have we seen Rodgers choke? You know, this is my favorite thing to always talk about. Love watching Rodgers choke every year in the playoffs for everyone to talk about how damn talented he is. He is. He's incredible. But still chokes every year, and he's going to choke again this year, even at home. They're 8-0 at Lambeau this year. Yes, I get that. They were also playing in Lambeau last year and they lost. I had no fans last year. I get it. It's a different year. But still, I think just like the Titans, they might not lose in one game. I think the Titans get knocked off the first time they step on the field. I think we get 2, maybe 3 games to the Packers, but that's kind of why I also don't have them towards my top spots here is they're capped at 3+ game upside in the best case scenario. We saw that with Mahomes last year, kind of the team that was destined for the Super Bowl. Mahomes did make that run, but Tom Brady was far more valuable because you got that extra game. He threw for 200 more yards than Mahomes did because of that extra game, in addition to 6 more touchdowns than what Mahomes put up because of that. And that's why it's I can only put the Packers so high, even if they make it to the Super Bowl, which they should make it to the Super Bowl. But if Rodgers chokes like he usually does, and I think he might, then you kind of stack a team that 2 games, it just doesn't work out for you in that sense. So I have them at 3, given that I think they'll make the Super Bowl, but I have them getting knocked off personally. What are your thoughts? You probably have the
I realized I told you that I have the Bills number 2. It's not true. I put little arrows next to them. I actually have the Bills number 1. Okay. And I have the Packers number 2. And the reason for that is because you said there is a cap. There's the 3-game cap. And so if I like Buffalo that high, I'm liking Buffalo for more games, regardless of the outcome, if they meet in the Super Bowl. So the Packers are my number 2 team. I think the big difference between the Pack, and we've seen Rodgers come up short plenty of times. I think the big difference to me this year, and it's I know they're the favorite. It's not like I think they're dominant. It's not like I'm one of the Packers are different this year. I don't necessarily think the Packers are different, but I think the Bucs are way different. Anything's possible. He's done stuff that no one else has done again and again. His team seems really depleted to me right now. Certainly his offensive weapons, Antonio Brown's obviously insane and is not a Buck anymore. Godwin's not coming back. I'm not sure what the Fournette situation is. It's just the Bucs haven't looked good in quite a while. Yes, he pulled off a miraculous comeback against the Jets last week. And, as great as that is, it's still the Jets. So everybody can tuck it back into their pants that was going nuts about Brady coming back against the Jets. The Jets essentially gave them that game, and they're the Jets. So who gives a shit? Right. So anyway, no, I think they're too high on the Bucs because obviously you have them in your top 2.
I sure do. But yeah, if it ends up being the Packers, I mean, if you get 3 games of Davante Adams, the wide receiver 2 in fantasy, wide receiver 3, 12, 1, 15, 5, and 4 across his last 5 games. I mean, nobody ended the season hotter. He scored more than even Cooper Kupp, my wide receiver 1, across those 5 weeks.
He's the receiver I'm taking number 1 if I'm doing fantasy playoffs. I'm not taking Kupp number 1. And I love Kupp,
I get that too. I still probably take Kupp 1 just in the off chance you get 4 games, you're winning your league just on Kupp. Because if they win 4 games, it means Cooper Kupp continued his record-setting insane pace and put him on his back. But I will, again, emphasize the fact that these Packers, Aaron Rodgers, 11-8 in the playoffs, just above 500, barely. I don't know. I could see them choking. Even
Sure, absolutely.
Round 1, let's say the 49ers.
And I'll be pulling hard for the Rams over them in the second round. I will be hoping that they lose.
Yeah, absolutely. So it'll be intriguing to see. But they are loaded. Aaron Jones, yes, he's a little bit of a committee this year, but still, a massive upside play. He's my running back 4 in fantasy. And also I'll toss out Alan Lazard, who has scored 21-5, 14, 19, and 25 in their last 5 games. So all but one of those games was beastly. All were in the top 20 receivers other than one. So he's a great top 25, 30 pick that falls in a lot of drafts. So I'll toss those guys out there because the Packers, again, should have 3 games, but I'm skeptical they will. And that's why I have it number 2, the Tampa Bay Bucks.
I think you're, like I said, I think you're too high. I have them 4. So, I mean, it's not like I think you're insanely high. I don't think the Bucks are going to the Super Bowl.
You're not wrong in the sense that they are banged up, right? No Godwin, no AB. Fournette is going to play. He's off the IR, and he's likely to play this week. So that is a nice welcome addition. I'm just saying we've seen Brady do it with far less in the past, too. He doesn't need anything. Mike Evans.
Have we?
Yeah, the Patriots teams. Think about the receivers he's had with the Patriots. He's gone to the Super Bowl with some disgusting rosters. So, yeah, I think Brady can absolutely.
Has he gone to the Super Bowl with disgusting rosters? I'm not quite willing to give you that. I mean, he's gone to a million Super Bowls, so obviously some of his rosters have been better than others, but I'm not willing to call any of the Patriots teams disgusting rosters that went.
Edelman being your number 1, Mike Evans is as good, if not better than Edelman, as a talent, and Gronk as his healthy as, he's done just as much with equal to worse. Let's put it that way. 4-1 against playoff teams this year, 80%. Again, maybe a different Bucks team. I understand that. 30.1 points per game was second in the NFL, though. And it's just Tom Brady. 31-11 led in the playoffs. More wins, more games played. Obviously, it's a Tom Brady factor is why I have them here. Yes, maybe I have my Tom Brady goggles on as the
No. You're not. That's not crazy. I mean, you've come by that honestly. It's not like you're blowing smoke out your ass. You've seen him win 31 times in the playoffs. That record that you just threw at me, I'm gonna go on a slight little offshoot tangent here. I was looking at some of these other teams and who their players were and all that. Do you know what Jimmy G's career record is as a starter? He's 30-12 or something.
That's fucking nuts.
He's a really, he freaking wins all the time. Right. I know you're talking about playoffs with Brady, but still, man, that's a really good record for a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Absolutely.
The guy wins 70% of his games.
And
people are like, he shouldn't even be the starter, with Trey Lance, whatever. I mean, I just think that's interesting.
I think it is absolutely.
Let's talk about the Bucks.
It's just crazy. Brady has that same record in the playoffs.
The playoffs.
How many games he's played? 42 games in the playoffs. Just nobody has that experience. Nobody knows how
we see those numbers with somebody like Brady, and it's his number of playoff games, his number of playoff wins. And it's there's going to be guys that play in the league years, quarterbacks that won't win 31 games. It's we see the same thing with LeBron in the playoffs in basketball, and they'll show his playoff minutes, his playoff record, his playoff points scored. And it's guys that play in the league full time for 8 years that won't score as many points as he scores in the playoffs. Right? It's just, these are next level dudes. Brady's a next level guy. I can't fault you too much for picking Brady just because you've seen it so many times. Why wouldn't you think it would happen again?
Exactly. Last year, 1061 yards was the most in the league, 265 per, 10 touchdowns across 4 games in the playoffs. Beast. Mike Evans right up there. Gronk, my second tight end behind only Kelsey. Mike Evans, top 5 receiver. Leonard Fournette last year led the NFL in rushing yards, 300 with 3 TDs of receiving touchdown on top. The guy, playoff Lenny, we all know. So he's my running back 2 behind only King Henry, given how far I think this team makes it. Just a beastly squad all around. And yes, again, I understand the narrative. This is not the same Bucks team that started the year. I think they'd be the favorite to win the Super Bowl if they were. But I just think
they would absolutely be the team I'd be picking right now if they had not been so depleted.
I still think they go all the way. I think Tom Brady can win better than anybody in the playoffs. And so I have my Bucks at number 2. And I think Tom Brady matches up with a repeat Super Bowl here, Kansas City Chiefs. So I know
you think it's going to be a rematch of the Super Bowl and the same thing's going to happen.
I actually think the Chiefs win this one.
Oh, you do?
I do. Yeah, I think the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl and they win it this year. Mahomes gets that little monkey off his back. I do think it's a repeat Super Bowl, though. We will see. But yeah, I have the Chiefs number 1. I just think the AFC is a bit weaker than the NFC. I still think it's wide open. I could see them losing to the Bengals. I could see them losing to the Bills in round 2. Yes, any of that could happen. But they've been pretty good against playoff teams, 6-3, tied with the Bengals at 66% with more, 9 games played against playoff opponents. Packers, Cowboys, Eagles, Steelers, Raiders times 2 wins. So only a handful of those are that impressive, but still Packers and Cowboys, no joke. They did lose to the Bills, Titans, and Bengals this year.
Yeah, but unlike a lot of these teams, they're trending right.
They are trending right. They ultimately have won. Let me just double check my stats here. I think it was nine of their last 10. The Bengals loss was their only loss in their last 10
Which they
games.
really shouldn't have lost, probably.
They kind of blew that one here. That was on the road. Was that on the road or was that at Kansas City?
I feel like that. Yeah, I would have said Kansas City, but now that you've got me second guessing myself, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it was in Cincy, but either way, I love Mahomes. He's 6-2.
I'll bet Mitch Chavez knows.
Mitch Chavez probably here. Let us know, Mitch. Mahomes, 6-2 in the playoffs, 290.5 yards per game, 2.12 TDs per game. Easy QB1 for me in fantasy playoff leagues.
Right.
Kelsey, tight end 1 for me, obviously. Tyreek Hill, wide receiver 4, and would be higher if I wasn't a little bit worried about that heel injury that kind of hampered him last week in a must-win game. He was nowhere to be found. So I'm a little nervous of that, but it's still Tyreek. If you get 4+ games, last year, him and Kelsey led the NFL in playoff receiving, Kelsey, then Hill, and they only played 3 games. So imagine you get 4 games of these guys. They could go absolutely bananas. We also had Kelsey with 3 touchdowns last year too. So he's one of my favorite top 5 picks that you can make alongside Kupp, alongside Adams and Mahomes and some of these QBs. But I love this team. And then you can even look at those later round options like Mecole Hardman. He had 19 fantasy points last time out. Pringle had a 26-point game against the Steelers they're facing this week. Should Tyreek Hill be banged up? Those guys going around 5 or 6? Absolutely options here. So I think the Chiefs, they end up winning the AFC. You get 4 games of Mahomes and his weapons. That's invaluable in playoff fantasy. And my guess is anybody with stacks of the Chiefs ends up winning their league. The only reason that's tough is because Hill, Kelsey, Mahomes all typically go in your top 6 picks. So it's very hard to stack this team. But if you can, you're probably going to win your league, is my opinion.
It's tough for a couple reasons, actually. And by the way, Mitch says the game was in Cincinnati. He was there on the sideline, so he would know.
Oh, shit.
That's what he says. Now, I don't know if he means he was on the sideline with the players,
He has a buddy. I remember he told us about this.
Okay, Mitch was on the sidelines.
Yeah, that's fucking sick.
In Cincinnati.
What a game. Unfortunately, you weren't alongside of that one, Mitch, but what a game that was.
Yeah, it was a good game. I was pulling for the Bengals, I admit it.
Of course.
All right, so listen, that was fun going through these rankings. It's gonna be interesting to see. So I got 10 more minutes, and I got to go.
I was gonna say, I know we were gonna go through playoff rankings like players. We're not gonna have time for that.
I'm not gonna have time for that.
But we should show our brackets.
Let me tell you. Let's talk about brackets. Let's talk about what we got, and then we'll take off. And if any of these guys got any questions for you, you can hit them when I'm gone. But I'm looking forward to comparing our brackets. All right, so we start on the AFC side, Cincinnati, Vegas. You have the Raiders.
Yeah, really? I'm changing that. I'm changing this. Yeah, I made this a few days ago.
We differ.
I did not pull my most updated bracket up. I had a gut feeling a couple days ago the Raiders would win. Let's put it this way. I think the more we've talked tonight, where it says Raiders and then Titans, I'm going Bengals, and I'm going Bengals again.
Yeah, me too, except that's actually Bengals on my sheet.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're going Bengals over Tennessee, over the Raiders. Yeah. I don't know why. This was a few days ago before I did my research.
I'm disappointed. But I'm glad you've come to your senses.
I've come to my senses.
We both have the Bengals going to the championship game. All right. Then we got Buffalo, New England. We both like the Bills. Chiefs, Pittsburgh. We both like the Chiefs. That was one of the few games I actually felt extremely confident when I was pitching. And then Bills, Chiefs. I have the Bills. So and we differ there. And then we're gonna go Bengals, Bills. I'm putting the Bills in the Super Bowl. But man, I'd love to see the Bengals go to the Super Bowl. That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
But anyway. Other side, Green Bay obviously getting the bye. Rams, Arizona. We both like the Rams, although we both could see it going either way. And we both have the Packers over the Rams in the following round. Dallas and San Francisco. We both like the Cowboys, although we've both hedged on that one big time too. We both think the Niners could come out of there potentially. You like the Cowboys more than I do. I don't see them winning more than 1 game, and it could be 0. Tampa
You know
Bay.
what's crazy, Nat, by the way? If the Niners win, so they go to Green Bay, I honestly like the Niners' chances against Green Bay more than I like the Rams.
I do too, and I like the Rams' chances against the Bucks more than the other way around.
I 100% agree. So like that,
Like, I think the Rams would beat the Bucks if they played.
I think
honestly.
that would flip the
but I don't
entire
think they'll beat
playoffs.
the Packers. That would be crazy, actually.
I think that
go Niners.
That's why this is such a wild bracket. Like if the Niners win, that would flip everything. Because I think they'd upset Green Bay, and I agree with you. I think the Rams have a good shot. They've already beat the Bucks.
Yeah.
I could see that happening yet again. This is
that's
going to be
crazy.
so fun. I cannot fucking wait.
Well, if it goes this way, this is how we've got it going. We both like the Bucks over the Eagles. That's one of the other games that I did not spend too much time wondering about.
Yeah.
We both like the Bucks over the Cowboys. So we both have Packers Bucks in the championship game. You like the Bucks. I like the Packers. And then in the Super Bowl, I'm just kind of like gritting my teeth and I'm picking the Packers over the Bills. There's so much potential for Rodgers to come up short here. I know.
Yep, and you will. I'm going Chiefs versus Bucks. I do still feel good about that prediction. Even though, again, I think this Raiders, I want to keep emphasizing. People are going to like see this and tune right out. I do not think the Raiders upset.
Right, I know. We're going to lose subscribers here, Wolf. Hey, speaking of subscribers, I saw we're up to 1.99.
We're like 10 away.
How short are we here? Like
10 away.
We need like a handful.
2K by the Super Bowl. Get us 10 more. Come on, folks. If you're new here, if you haven't already, hit like, awesome. But hit that subscribe if you enjoyed the content, you like what we're doing. We'll be live every Thursday, Me and the Truth, and just random other shows tossed within there too.
Oh yeah.
So if you like what you're doing, if you like what we're doing, please consider subscribing. We're 10 away from 2K, and we just would love to have loyal regulars that keep showing up. So if you enjoy what you heard, whether you're new, whether you're regular, but you somehow didn't subscribe yet, please consider that. But yeah, hopefully you don't lose subscribers here with this Raiders. I think it's going to be Bengals, like you said. But ultimately, I do think the Chiefs go all the way, and this is the year Mahomes does take it down, faces Tom Brady and stares down his nemesis.
So we got the same Final Four, except I got the Bills, you got the Chiefs. So this should be interesting.
I did get 3 out of 4 Final Four last year, by the way. So I had a really good year of predictions last year. But yeah, I'm going Chiefs, Bengals, Packers, Bucks for my Final Four.
And I'm going Bengals, Bills, Packers, Bucks.
And it's so crazy that we both have the same preface. If the Niners win, our whole bracket.
Right. If the Niners win, then it becomes like Niners, Rams,
exactly right.
Packers, Niners, Rams. We both still like the Bengals, and then either the Bills or the Chiefs. That would be nuts.
Exactly.
All right, and so I'm gonna go put my kid to bed, Wolfpack. But it's been awesome, and like the Wolf said, we're gonna be doing this every Thursday. Obviously, we'll frame it around football to some degree. We're gonna talk about some other non-football stuff too, because we gotta fill the off season.
Hell yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Nat, before you head out, do you want to hit us with your top Prize Picks bets for Wild Card Week? I know we kind of hinted at them.
Yeah, I'll just tell you. I'll tell you what I like. I got 6 bets that I like this week.
All right, let's hear it.
All right,
I'm pulling mine up right here too.
Okay, Joe Burrow over 260.5 passing yards. What do you think of that?
I love it. And also, right now, if you can get in there, they have Burrow as like a discount, a promo right now at 230.5.
Well, I mean, I was willing to do it for 260. So obviously, I like that even more.
So that Wolfpack, get in there now. Just to reemphasize, code RSJ, deposit $100. They'll match it. Deposit 20. We get a good kickback. Whatever you match up to 100 is great with us. $20, we do get a nice kickback. But yes, if you get in there, the truth is
I'm throwing free money at you guys.
230.5, easy free money.
Okay, 100%. So that's the first bet I like a lot.
Yes.
I like Debo over 26.5 rushing yards.
Yep.
I like Hunter Renfrow over 53.5 receiving yards.
I like that one, but now that Waller's back, I mean, he only had like 12 receiving yards last week. The first 2 I loved. That's the one that I'm a little bit on the fringe with.
All right. I like George Kittle over 47.5 receiving yards as well.
I love that.
I like Joe Mixon to score at least 1 rushing touchdown.
I like that.
Love that. I like Jimmy G to throw at least 1 pick.
I think those are all really good.
And last but not least, I like Tom Brady over 1.5 rushing yards.
That's a risky one though, because he really doesn't run. Like
I know he doesn't, but I mean, you know, I'm giving you so much free money on these other picks. He's the king of the quarterback sneak. We're going to see 2 quarterback sneaks in this game?
Yeah, but a kneel, he goes backwards. So he's had
the kneel is a bitch. I didn't even really think about the kneel.
He's gone 0-0 in his last 2 games.
Okay,
what about 11-2 and 16?
11-2 and 16.
Yes. So he would have won in 3 out of the last 5.
Okay.
There you go. Risky. A little risky, for sure. I
it's
love all
called
the ones
gambling. Of course there's risk. It's called gambling. Right.
Absolutely.
So anyway, I think at least some of those picks are pretty good picks.
I really like Damien Harris over 54.5.
Yeah.
I do like I like Jalen Hurts, but that is a good run defense. So I don't know how to go there. I mean, again, Burrow the lock at 230.5 on PrizePicks. Code RSJ gets you a $100 match, and helps your boys. I think these are really tough though this week. They've set better. They're usually tougher lines or easier lines than this. I do like Hunter Henry at 29.5 receiving yards.
I thought about Hunter Henry.
He's done that in 3 of his last 5 games, and he's fresh off an 86-yard effort. If anybody's catching a ball, I think it could be him. So I do like that one. I do think Gronk, 55.5 receiving yards, is an absolute smash. Most points allowed to defenses for the tight end position is the Eagles. He's got 137 and 115 in his last 2 games. You're telling me you can't get to 55 against the worst defense against tight ends? I love that one too. So just tossing a few prize picks your way. We'll give you our lock top 5. We'll kind of send in an Instagram post this weekend. But again, check out PrizePicks, another not free, but an easy way to keep action involved in your playoffs. Code RSJ. Support your boys. $20 deposit. We get a nice little kickback. They'll match again up to $100. You pick 5, you 10 extra money if you get them right. I'm betting probably $30 this weekend, going for 300. So hoping for a big one,
Good
folks.
luck.
I can't wait. So, guys, thanks again so much for tuning in. I'll hit your questions. I know the Truth has to get out of here. So, Truth, thanks again. It was a blast talking these playoff teams.
We'll talk soon. Good
Make
luck,
sure
everybody.
we take notes next year that, it's a whole show to talk about our power rankings because that was awesome, but I don't think we should have skipped it anymore. We couldn't have gone any quicker than we did. So,
no, I felt like
we'll have to do rankings as a separate show next year at some point. But
all right. Man, look, I'm hoping we'll be doing this every day eventually. So,
oh yeah, exactly. Right. Live with you folks every morning.
All right, guys.
Morning.
See you later.
With the Truth. Yeah. But cheers.
It's been
Truth.
fun.
Have a great.
See you all in a while.
Enjoy your long weekend, brother. Let's enjoy this playoffs.
Too.
Cheers, man. All righty, Wolfpack. Let me go and get on in to your questions here. I'll go to the solo view. We got over 30 questions on a random playoff weekend. So I love to see that. Let's hit what we got. Let us know what you think of our playoff picks. Again, mine are Chiefs versus Bucks, those power rankings for your fantasy playoff leagues. I hope that helped. I will be doing tomorrow one of those. I'll go through my wild card rankings. Maybe I'll just end up doing my playoff rankings as well. So you have both of those. So ultimate ranking show tomorrow. Once I'm out of school, we will do that for you guys heading into these weekends. What up, David? Wolf and Truth. Good to see you, brother. I absolutely agree. Playoff action, DFS. Get on UnderDog. Get on the DraftKings. We'll talk about specifically this week coming up. Let's go Niners, fella. I didn't know you were a Niners fan. I like that team, though. They're very likable. I cannot wait for that game. Going to be a great one. Want to know what bets to make? Campanelli, did you download your prize picks yet? That's what you need. Prize picks, we just gave you a bunch that will win you some good money. What up, Ben? Thanks for a great season. Public grievance. Beauty's officially skin deep, and CJ should be banned from Twitter for his Belichick slander. I have not seen that. Why is he a co-manager of the RSJ if he's slandering Belichick? We'll need to have some decisive action from this one. I don't know what that slander is, but I don't like to hear it, Ben. Beauty does only run so deep, and that is evidence of an ugly soul. Bo Gable, what's up? Hoping the Rams lose so my lowly Lions get a better pick. Oh, yeah, because of the trade. Yeah, maybe that will help him out. We will see. Won your championship. Hell yeah. That's what I like to hear. Fly, Eagles, fly. Yeah, they won't be flying too high. Brady's going to steamroll them despite the weather. Brady going down. No way. Wolf and Truth. Thank you so much, Omar, again, for your super chat. I'm so pumped you won your longtime Dynasty League and your longtime league. Like, crushed it this year. You're a legend, brother. No sorries needed. You gave us some great stuff. I appreciate it. Show bread, break bread with the podcast. You're the man. I can't wait to meet you this summer at that Fantasy Expo or whenever it is. We got to have some beers together, Omar. It's going to be awesome. 49ers O-line is dominant, DJ. One of the best. Again, poetry in motion watching that run scheme. It is just beautiful. Trent Williams at the left tackle. What a mauler. Just so fun to watch. I cannot wait for that Cowboys-Niners action. And again, guys, if I beg for it, but one more thumbs up round, one more plea for the thumbs up. If you're still here, you probably already gave it to us, but continue to help us grow Wolfpack. It would be so greatly appreciated. Sadly, Debo will be way overdrafted. I don't know. 1-2 turn. See, I don't think he's going to go that high, though. That's where I kind of value him. I'm going to have him in my top 15, Omar. I just love him. I know the injury risk, but I don't care. I love the guy. I'm guessing he's going to fall to like 20 to 24, that late second, and I'm going to be gobbling him up there. Let's go, Niners. Yeah. Oh, should we just talk about Trent Williams? Highest PFF score. Yeah, deserves it, too. What up, Mitch? Great to see you, man. Refs had a oh, here comes the Chiefs babies complaining about the refs. Every team can complain about the refs. We did pull a Marshawn Lynch, though. Yeah, but yeah, I did love that playoff, that commentary. But yes, I get the refs were a little sketchy there at the end, but shouldn't have been a game. The way you guys got up big, you shouldn't have even let him back in the game. Playoff team, you can only have one player from a team. I love this. 7 players in 1D. Let's see. Mahomes, Henry, Mixon, Adams, Evans, Kupp, Bass, Dallas, D. I mean, I would probably do the same exact roster here. So 8 out of 14 teams. I think you picked, when we looked at my roster here, the guys that I see advancing at least a couple games, you've got all of them other than Henry, but how do you not go on Henry at running back? So I get that. The one thing is that they get knocked out early. I might have snuck a Bills in here because I do think the Bills, you got Bass, but like I kind of like getting either Diggs or Singletary in here. If not Josh Allen, if you think they somehow upset Mahomes. But I don't think they do. I would have probably gone Mahomes there as well. So I like pretty much everything about that. Yeah, I think a lot of people see San Fran upsetting the Cowboys. It's popular for a reason. My gut just telling me Cowboys, and I think the Cowboys go on a run, but they always are up and down. I get what you're saying. So interesting. What would Jerry Glanville do? New Texans coach? What? Would you switch Mixon for Lenny and Evans for Chase? I love Mixon. I prefer Evans and I prefer Mixon. It's where I lean here. Wolf, I appreciate the pick. I don't remember what it was. Oh, yeah. Cincy, so you were there. Yes. Hill has looked in practice in full. CH to practice too, although I prefer Darryl. I do prefer Darryl too, but it does get sketchy with them all there. Bengals going to Super Bowl would in fact not be awesome. Yeah. Browns fan here. Definitely Salt earlier, truth indeed. Always pumped to link up with him every Thursday. So fun. Packers Chiefs Super Bowl. Omar, I think a lot of people I talked to at work and stuff. They feel the same way. I just think Packers choke. They always do. I'm going Packers. I'm going Bucks. I'm going Chiefs. When the Eagles win Sunday, everybody, Denny, you mad man. My bracket will certainly be bust. I have the Bucks going all the way. So that would screw me over. But hey, there's no way that happens. The weather is going to play in your guys' favor here. The monsoon coming. I don't think it matters even still. It will be closer than I think people think. I won't take that spread, 8.5 points. But there's no way the Eagles win that game, in my opinion. Alrighty, guys. I'll be live tomorrow when school gets out. I think around 2:33. So if you want to get some wild card rankings and just play some DFS for this week, that's going to be the focus of the next show. So thanks again so much for being here, guys. I'm the Wolf. World Field Fantasy Sheep, guys. Be the Wolf. Later. Let's enjoy some football this weekend. Cannot wait.